What if I told you that the very first piece of clothing most men slip on every single morning, the one you never even question, could be silently draining your energy, lowering your testosterone, and even sabotaging your fertility? I know that sounds dramatic, but as a doctor who has seen countless patients struggling with fatigue, low drive, and fertility issues, I can tell you this isn't just theory. It's backed by hard science. Think about it. Out of every species on this planet, human beings are the only ones who deliberately cover their most vital reproductive organs in an extra layer of fabric. At first glance, that might seem like nothing more than cultural habit. But when you look deeper, you realize it has direct measurable consequences for men's health. Consequences that too many of my patients never understood until it was already affecting their lives. I've sat across from men in their 30s, 40s, even 60s, listening as they confess they couldn't explain why their energy had crashed, why their sex drive had faded, or why starting a family was suddenly an uphill battle. And time again, the hidden culprit came back to the same overlooked factor, what they were wearing under their clothes every single day. The truth is, your body was brilliantly designed to regulate itself, to keep your reproductive system at the perfect temperature for testosterone in sperm production. But when we interfere with that design through the wrong clothing choices, the results can quietly pile up into problems that change the course of a man's health. That's why in this video, I want to show you exactly what's happening inside your body, why the underwear you choose can either protect or destroy your vitality, and the simple changes you can make starting tonight to reclaim your energy, your hormones, and your confidence. When I sit with my patients, I often start by asking a simple question. Have you ever wondered why the testicles are located outside the body instead of being tucked safely inside like every other vital organ? Most men pause, then admit they've never really thought about it, and yet this single detail is one of the most brilliant design features of the male body. Here's the science in plain English. The core body temperature sits at about 98.6 degree arousal or 37 degrees, but sperm production and testosterone creation can only happen smoothly at a temperature roughly 4 to 5 degrees Fahrenheit cooler. That's why nature positioned the testicles in the scrotum on the outside so they can self-regulate. Think of it like a high-performance computer. It runs perfectly as long as the fans keep it cool, but once the heat builds up, the system slows, glitches, and eventually crashes, and the body has its own cooling system. When it's cold, the scrotum pulls the testicles closer to conserve warmth. When it's hot, it relaxes and drops them further away, increasing airflow and surface area to release heat. I've seen this described in medical journals as one of the most dynamic biological thermostats, but I prefer to explain it to my patients as a natural air conditioning system for male fertility and hormones. Elegant, automatic, and designed to protect your manhood. But here's where it gets serious. Every time you add a tight layer of synthetic fabric around this cooling system, you're basically shutting the vents, cranking up the temperature, and trapping moisture. I've had men in their 30s come to me confused about why they're feeling sluggish, why their performance is fading, and why their lab tests show changes in testosterone. And often the answer is as simple as the underwear they've been wearing for years. So, if this natural design is such a masterpiece, what exactly happens when we disrupt it with modern clothing choices? The answer is more shocking than most men realize, and it's the reason so many patients only discover the damage when it's already too late. When I explain to men how perfectly their body was designed to regulate temperature, they often ask me the next question, then why do I feel so uncomfortable, tired, or even less manly over time? The truth is, Most of the damage comes from a modern invention we all take for granted: underwear. Think about what happens when you wrap a sensitive self-cooling system in tight synthetic fabric. Instead of letting the body breathe, you press the testicles back against the core's heat and seal them in a layer that traps warmth and moisture. It's like parking a car in a garage with the engine running and the doors shut. The heat and fumes just keep building until the system starts to choke. I've seen this play out in real life. One of my patients, a 42-year-old office worker, came to me with complaints of constant fatigue and skin irritation he couldn't explain. He wore slim-fit suits and boxer briefs made from polyester every single day. His lab results revealed lower testosterone than expected for his age, and he was already showing early signs of reduced sperm quality. The culprit wasn't a rare disease or genetics. It was years of slowly cooking his reproductive system in an artificial microclimate created by his clothing. And here's where the science confirms it. Studies have shown that scrotal temperatures can rise by 1 to 2 degrees Celsius, enough to impair sperm production when men wear tight-fitting synthetic underwear for extended periods. One paper even compared it to running delicate machinery in a greenhouse. It might still function, but performance steadily drops until breakdown is inevitable. This isn't just about comfort. It's about creating an environment where fungus, bacteria, and heat stress thrive while your hormones and fertility quietly decline. That's why I tell my patients, your underwear isn't just a fashion choice, it's a health decision with long-term consequences. But if a simple layer of fabric can wreak such havoc, the bigger question is what exact dangers are building up inside your body when you keep wearing the wrong underwear every single day. The answer lies in 3 hidden threats that every man needs to know. Threats that could explain why your body isn't performing the way it used to. By now, you can see how the wrong underwear traps heat and moisture, but the real question my patients always ask me is this: what does that actually do to my health? And that's where it gets truly alarming, because inside that overheated, poorly ventilated environment, 3 silent dangers begin to build. The first danger is what I call the swamp effect. Imagine wearing a damp sock all day. It's warm, it's moist, and after a few hours, it becomes the perfect breeding ground for fungus and bacteria. That's exactly what happens in the groin when ventilation is cut off. I've treated countless men with chronic jock itch, medically known as tinea cruris, that wouldn't go away until they change their clothing habits. And it's not just about itching. Male yeast infections, skin irritation, and foul odor all stem from the same problem. The body's natural cooling system has been hijacked, and microorganisms are having a field day. The second danger cuts even deeper: fertility. The process of sperm production, called spermatogenesis, is one of the most temperature-sensitive operations in the entire human body. Just a rise of 2 degrees Fahrenheit can slow it down. Research has shown that men who consistently wear tight heat-trapping underwear have lower sperm counts, reduced motility, the ability of sperm to swim, and higher rates of abnormal shapes. I remember one patient in his late 30s desperate to start a family. His lab tests revealed poor sperm quality, and after ruling out other factors, the simplest fix was also the most overlooked. He swapped synthetic briefs for loose, breathable cotton boxers. Within months, his numbers improved. Sometimes the smallest habit has the biggest consequence. The third danger is the one most men fear, but rarely connect to clothing: testosterone decline. The same cells in the testicles that make sperm also produce about 95% of a man's testosterone. But these cells are like delicate machinery. When they're overheated for hours every day, their performance drops. The result: fatigue, low energy brain fog, weaker muscles, and a fading sex drive. I've seen men walk into my office thinking they needed testosterone replacement therapy, when in reality, their lifestyle and clothing were quietly suppressing their natural production. So, here's the wake-up call from fungus to fertility to testosterone. The dangers of the wrong underwear are not small annoyances. They strike at the very core of a man's health and vitality. And the scary part? Most men don't notice the damage until it's already affecting their daily lives. Which brings us to the question every patient asks, after hearing this, if underwear can do so much harm, is there a way to reverse the damage and restore performance without drugs or surgery? The answer might surprise you. And it starts with a simple 7-second remedy thousands of men are already using. After hearing about the 3 hidden dangers, most of my patients lean in and ask the same question, Doctor, is there anything I can do right now to undo the damage? And the truth is, yes, there's a surprisingly simple, science-backed method that takes just 7 seconds a day. I first came across this while reviewing clinical case studies on circulation and vascular health. Later, I saw it firsthand with men who were struggling with poor performance, low confidence, and the constant frustration of not being able to stay firm when it mattered most. What amazed me wasn't a pill and injection or some expensive therapy. It was a quick home technique that improved blood flow by targeting the very root cause of performance problems. Think of it like unclogging a blocked pipe. No matter how much pressure you add, if the pipe is narrow or stiff, the flow is weak. But when you clear that blockage and relax the vessel walls, the flow comes back strong and steady. That's exactly what this 7-second method does for male performance. It restores healthy circulation, strengthens vascular response, and allows the body to do what it was designed to do naturally. I've seen men in their 50s and 60s who thought their best days were behind them report dramatic improvements after just a few weeks of consistency. No dangerous side effects, no dependency, just a safe, natural way of reclaiming the kind of confidence they thought was gone for good. Now, I can't walk you through every detail here because it deserves a full explanation. But I've linked to a short video that breaks it down step by step. If you're serious about fixing the issue at its root, don't skip it. I've recommended it to patients, and many of them tell me it was the turning point that gave them their lives back. But here's the important part. While the 7-second technique can make a real difference, it works best when combined with the everyday choices you make, especially the clothing you put on before you leave the house. Which brings us to the practical solutions you can start applying tonight, the changes in fabric fit, and habits that will help protect your hormones, fertility, and long-term vitality. When I share this with my patients, they're usually shocked that something as ordinary as underwear could be sabotaging their health. And the very next question is always, so what should I actually wear? Doctor, the good news is that small practical changes can have an enormous impact, and you can start them tonight. First, let's talk about fabric. Natural breathable materials like cotton bamboo or modal are the gold standard. Cotton in particular is soft absorbent and allows air to circulate. Bamboo and modal are even smoother and excellent at wicking away moisture. What you want to avoid for daily use are synthetics like polyester or nylon. They behave like plastic wrap, they trap heat lock and moisture, and suffocate your body's natural cooling system. I've had men switch to cotton boxers and come back weeks later telling me their irritation and odor were gone. Sometimes it really is that simple. Second fit makes all the difference. The healthiest option is always looser boxers that give your body space to breathe. Boxer briefs are a compromise. They offer support, but can still trap heat if they're tight or made from the wrong fabric. Briefs, on the other hand, are the most restrictive. They press everything tightly against the body and eliminate ventilation. When I explain this to patients, I often compare it to sleeping with the windows open versus sealed shut. One gives you fresh, cool air. The other leaves you hot and restless. Third, consider the commando strategy. One of the easiest, most effective hacks is to simply sleep without underwear. Those 7 to 9 hours of unrestricted cooling are like a reset button for your reproductive system. I tell my patients, if you're relaxing at home in loose sweatpants or shorts, there's no harm and plenty of benefit in giving your body that freedom. And finally, hygiene. Always dry the area thoroughly after a shower before dressing. Moisture is the enemy. And if you've just finished a workout or heavy activity change, immediately into a fresh dry pair. These simple steps cut down the risk of fungal growth irritation and odor dramatically. So here's the takeaway. You don't need to throw away every pair of underwear you own. What matters is being conscious of your choices, choosing fabrics and fits that work with your body, instead of against it, giving your hormones and fertility the environment they need to thrive. But of course, all the science and strategies in the world mean nothing unless you act on them. And that brings us to the final, most important part of this conversation, your decision to take control of your health starting today. So let's bring this full circle. What you wear under your clothes every day may seem like a small detail, but as we've seen, it can quietly shape your energy, your hormones, and even your future fertility. The truth is, your body was designed with incredible wisdom, and your job is simply to respect that design by giving it room to breathe, keeping it cool, and protecting it from unnecessary stress. I want you to remember this. Your health, your vitality, and your confidence are not luxuries. They are the foundation of your life. Every choice you make, even something as simple as the fabric of your underwear, can either build you up or slowly wear you down. And as a doctor, my greatest hope is that you'll choose the habits that protect your manhood so you can live not just longer, but stronger. If you found this video valuable, save it so you can revisit these tips whenever you need a reminder. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. I share the latest medical insights on men's health and performance every week, and I don't want you to miss them. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What's your go-to style of underwear? And after learning this, are you considering making a change? Drop your answer in the comments. I read everyone, and your story might inspire someone else.